Alright, little cats and kittens. Little Tiger King joke there. Bored at the house, of course, because we're all hunkered down doing nothing. So this car, after I picked it up, has not been driven at all. I took the insurance off of it, so it's just been sitting in the garage. But I've been working on projects. I did get my stereo installed, but I noticed now with the stereo installed, there's kind of no fullness of sound, so we've got to do an amp and subwoofer install. So I got a basic kit, Bose kit off of Amazon, and I'm gonna do that today. But now I've got to decide. I have this kicker comp that I've put in the back of one of those before. The other option that I have, that I had from another car, actually it was in the Elise, is one of these all-in-one units. So I thought that actually that might be all that I need in this car. I mean, this car's so small and I'm not trying to like pound sound. I just want a little bit more bass in it, just to make the stereo sound good. So I'm gonna do a subwoofer install today. Wish me luck. So first things first with these installs, we got to get this wire ready to go to the battery. This is the main power line that you have to run to the back. This came with the kit. So I got to figure out which size eyelet I want. But one of these, I need to figure out which one will fit on the battery. So most likely I'll run it to this one, or maybe off the side here. Either way, it's going to be the smaller hole. So the big one could go on there. It's too big for some of these, so I'll use the smaller one. So the largest gauges, and that will just need to get crimped on there. Make sure that I get it on there best I can. Seems pretty good. The other question is, where do you run this wire through? Because you have to get from the battery through the firewall into the rest of the car, and of course all the way to the back. Now in this car, we did one modification, same thing I did with my last one, and that's took out this sound pipe that came in through here. It was an addition where they'd pump sound from your intake into the cabin. But since that's gone, that means that there is a hole that has been plugged up with this plug right here in the footwell of the passenger seat, and that goes straight through to the engine compartment. There it goes. Let's go in the cabin, see if we can find it. Just that easy. There it is. Best thing would probably be to tie this off in the engine compartment so that you can't pull it all the way through. There. Now it's pulled all the way back through to where it needs to be. Anything coming off of the battery generally should be on a fuse. So we're gonna run this on the battery, and then this fuse we need to clamp inline on this wire. Okay, cut this piece off of the battery terminal because I figured out where I was gonna run it to. And now it just needs to go into one end of the fuse. There's the big fuse right there. So what we need to do is attach one into there. Make sure to thread this through first. A little rubber grommet that goes with it. Sizes it correctly. Then you got to put the end on. So let's loosen it up. And they're nice and snug. Feels good. So now that end will go over that and go into one end of the fuse box. Is there a side? No. So now what we need to do is do the same thing here onto this end. Try not to lose any pieces. Same thing, make sure to thread it through first. We got the two pieces that go together. So this end I found will run to the battery over here. Then we'll run this to a side place to protect it. And now the fuse stuff is done. Run that in. Tighten that piece down. Now we have an inline fuse with the correct adapter to go to the battery. Is what looks like the best bet is actually to go to the side crimp tool and run this under to here. It'll keep it clean and the wire can run down with those. That will allow me to use my stock cap. I found if I put it on one of these like I was going to, it's going to cause a problem there. It won't go in without me cutting or changing this cap. Put the box back on. It just doesn't sit exact. So now all I was going to do is figure out where to place this guy. Maybe here. I don't know. I gotta go find a place to run them to. On my placement, I like using this 3M tape to mount the fuse. My plan is to place it right about here. And once you place it, that's pretty much it. There's no real moving it later. So make sure you get it on there snug in the right orientation. This is perfect because I can tuck that wire in here. Now the power wire from the battery. Oh, can't see this as well. Power wire from the battery tucks under here and right here, which will be easy for me to get at to replace the fuse, which I will need to do soon because as you guys saw, I took the fuse out. So that's there. That also has the out pointing correctly down towards where it needs to go. So from inside the car, we can pull in a lot of the slack. You don't want to pull it too much because it is going to move, because what we'll end up doing is zip tying this to a couple of points inside the engine compartment to keep it away from anything hot. So you don't want to melt through a wire. If you do, that's obviously what the fuse is for. So next thing will be taking the stereo out again. So let's get onto that. I'll say one of the nicest things about the BRZ86 FRS, whatever the heck you want to call it, is getting at the stereo is not so bad. So one piece is just this piece, pops out, dash panel 1, then you can get behind the second one, pop out dash panel 2. Once you've done that, there's just 4 sockets. Pull those out and the whole head unit comes out. Now your stereo's out. Now I already have an aftermarket head unit that I modified to put in here. And this is when the mess comes out. So now what we have to do is we have to run from my subwoofer outputs, run those to the back. We also need to run what's called a remote wire. Remote wire is what tells the amp to turn on when your head unit's on. So we have to find that wire in the wiring harness, and it should be labeled in one of these amp remote, if you can see that. So we'll have to run an extension to that to the back of the car, or I can tap into an amp remote because this car has a little amp built in back there. I may just tap into that and run my amp off of that remote wire. But now this whole feed has to go out the back, which is actually not that hard to do. There's a side panel to take off. Then come out right down here. So they came out down here. Feed that through. I'll feed that all the way through, and see, then that can just run through the center console out the back. I think I'm gonna go get that electrical tape. Really, I just want to keep them from falling apart. Since those are done, that has the amp wire out. That should be everything for the stereo portion. Key is fitting everything back in there. There we go. Now we have the power wire here that we ran. I'll run that to the back. And then we have the signal for the subwoofers running to the back. So now all we need is a remote wire that tells it to turn on and off. And then from the back, we will do the last thing, which is a ground, which we can mount anywhere in the trunk area. So, all right, on to testing that. Back here by the amp, I told you there's another amp in this car. It's under this floor panel right here. It's an amp that runs the door speakers up there. So there's already a remote wire from the stereo that runs to that amp, and that's a very low voltage thing. So I may run the remote wire from that to back here to test everything. This should be easy. This has your inputs here, low level inputs from the head unit, and then obviously we have power, remote wire, and ground. I need to figure out which wire in the back is the remote wire. I'll figure that out. And then grounding is easy. It can go to any of these bolts on the side. That'll be simple. Not worried about that one. A little research inside. Little Googling. So on this stock amp that's in the trunk, pull out this wire. And I saw on there that it has teal, yellow, green. The green one is the remote turn on for this amp, so I can wire into that green one. All I have to do is tap into it and run it to this one as well. So let me do that. For harness purposes, I threw that wire in that pin and just plugged it back in, so it should just be touching inside there, so that should be easy enough. Run the other side of that remote wire into where it says remote here. Now, where did I put that ground wire? That I don't remember. I will need to put, that's a good thing that the other loop would be for over here, because I need to screw him in somewhere. So that's what these are for. Oh, need my crimpers. That bolt there would be perfect. It's already a ground, as you see right here. That is actually for my backup camera that I installed. So let me try throwing it in that one. That's how I connected the remote wire for now, just to test it. I'm taking these out so I can get at this bolt easier. So now I've got the fuse in, head unit's turning on. Just run back to the amp, and green power is on. So it looks like the amp is on. Let's try a little music.
A message board, a word rooted in hate. Genre still
Definitely working.
It's anonymous. It's a saying hate that's caused wars from religion. Gender to skin color, the reflection of your pigment. The same faith that led people to walkouts and sittings and human rights.
And then you just have to do your. Then all you got to do is set your levels. Awesome. Okay, BRZ stereo done. One project down. Now it's a little time to play some more Apex, some more games with my buddies. Let's dump footage.